I'm James O'Brien, physical therapist, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Topo Athletic Pursuit version 2. So this is actually my third pair of Topo Athletic Pursuits. I had two pair of the version 1. I bought one pair. I liked them so much. I bought a second pair, and when they came out with a version 2, I bought the version 2 right here. So full disclosure, I bought these shoes on my own dime and I have no affiliation with Topo Athletic. So this is my honest review. In this review, you're going to learn about the goods, why I still think this is a pretty good shoe. I'll talk about why it performs amazingly, but I'll also talk about some of the bads. And I'm not going to say full-on bad, like you're going to end up on Santa's, bad list and he's going to take a deuce in your stocking bad. No, not that bad, but bad enough where you're like, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait for a version 3 to see if there's a few updates. So this is a zero drop shoe. All right, so zero drop meaning that the heel height and the forefoot height here are the same. Where the balls of the feet are and the heel are, it's the same height, which means that you're not being like pitched upward like this. The shoe does have a bit of toe spring, so it does pull your toes up a little bit, which is like, not totally natural, but that encourages like a little bit of a roll off. And also the sole here thins out a little bit more towards the front. So that definitely encourages you to roll off. And I remember when I first got this shoe and I started running it, I was like, whoa, it just like caused me to do that. And some might argue that that throws off some natural mechanics, but I've done lots of miles in these and I feel great. So I don't think it's that bad of a thing. All right, but a pure naturalist might argue otherwise. Speaking of that, the shoe does have a little bit of arch support in it. You can not necessarily see here, but this is like elevated just slightly on the medial longitudinal arch. Unlike say an Ultra Lone Peak where it's like totally flat, like those don't have arch support. This has a hint of arch support. So I personally would be okay with getting rid of that. I wear all my shoes without the insoles in place, and so that takes away a little bit of the support. And the reason I like to take the insoles out is I just feel more connected to the ground. Gives me a little bit more space for my toes to wiggle around. So I just feel like I perform better. And there's actually some other reviewers on the Topo Athletic website that reviewed this shoe that reported that they actually do the same thing. Now, in order to do that, for it to work really well, you need to have some little bit of foam at the base here, like underneath where the insole would go. And why that's important is that little bit of foam, so you can see it almost looks like Swiss cheese there, where all the white is, not where the holes are. That's like a very thin layer of foam. What's good about that is your sock will actually like stick to that. So as you like pivot left and right and stop quickly, like your sock just sort of like grips the foam and you're like more secure. So kind of a big deal for me. I actually won't buy shoes unless it has like that little bit of foam there. If it's just like that stitching, if you can kind of see the stitching where the holes are, your foot will like slip around on that and it's not as good. Now, for whatever reason, I guess one durability issue I had with these shoes, in my right shoe, I kind of wore all that foam out. So like that's not cool, but it's not like all the way down, but you can see how it's like peeling up there. That didn't happen in my version 1s, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen in old lefty here, but righty, it sure did. Now, as we all know, chicks are totally like not into dudes with cowboy boots, okay? Why? Because they have that skinny toe box and no chicks want that. Chicks instead are into dudes with like short, fat feet, like this dude, okay? Who wear like trail runners that accommodate that. Interesting. All right, so if you look at this trail runner here, you can see this has a nice, voluminous, wide toe box, and that allows my toes to splay like as nature intended. The big toe actually goes in, or where the big toe would be, it allows it to go in. And that's cool because then I don't get a bunion. Because you know what chicks don't like? Bunions. And I always thought it was just from eating onions. No, it's not. It's from improper fitting footwear that actually drives your toe inward. And as a physical therapist, you think I would have known that, but I don't know. I always thought it was just onions. What do you know? This shoe is relatively cushioned. So we got 28 millimeters of stack height. There is no rock plate in this shoe. But because there's like so much stack height, you don't really need a rock plate. All right, so I've been on some pretty gnarly, aggressive trails and like slammed some pointy rocks. It's not really a big deal because you got 28 millimeters of stack height. Now, I will say, in my older version 1s, after I've kind of really compressed that EVA after like hundreds of miles and the rubber has worn out a little bit, I've hit some rocks, I'm like, ooh, maybe a rock plate would have been good. But on the whole, I really don't think it's necessary. And perhaps it would have added weight. This shoe currently is 10.5 ounces for a size men size 9 in men's. So it's like relatively light. All right, let's talk about some other cool features. I'd say probably the coolest feature of all and why I actually purchased this shoe was the sole, okay, right here. You know, I wouldn't say heart and soul. I'm just talking about a sole. I don't even think this thing has a heart piece of. Anyway, but this sole has not only like well-designed lugs, okay, so lugs are like these little cleat-like things that stick out. They are spaced kind of far apart, and the benefit to that is it'll generate more pressure when you touch the ground, so it'll dig in more. So it'll dig into like wet dirt and mud better. Also, because they're spaced far apart, like dirt won't get stuck in there so much, so when you walk inside the house, you won't be tracking dirt in, and your lovely wife won't get pissed, okay, because otherwise she always gets pissed when you're tracking dirt in the house. So now she won't get pissed. So that's a plus, okay? But more importantly, this shoe has what's called Vibram Mega Grip. So I've talked about this in some of my other videos, and I almost exclusively buy shoes with Vibram Mega Grip if I know I'm gonna be doing like some trail running or hiking in them. So Vibram makes rubber that goes on the bottom of shoes. That's like what they do. And this specific rubber compound, Vibram Mega Grip, for whatever reason, does an amazing job at gripping like wet rocks, roots, dirt, like natural surfaces. It really lives up to its name, Vibram Mega Grip. It's just like the rubber itself is like sticky on those surfaces. Unlike man-made, unnatural terrains, like, I don't know, like a tile floor, a linoleum floor, can't say that word. It doesn't work like anything special, but in nature, it works amazing. And I liked, you know, I'm a physical therapist. I always like to like figure out like the why, like how things work. If someone comes to see me in pain, I'm like, well, what's driving your pain? Let's figure out why. Let's learn how to fix it. But you know, I'm not a chemist, and like I don't understand like why this rubber works so well. I know it does, but let's just say, you know, I've tried. I've like felt it. I've even smelt it. Ooh. Dare I say, I even just dealt it. But that's not gonna help. I don't know. I'm not sure how this stuff works, but long story short, it does. So this shoe performs amazingly. So that's the plus. Great, awesome, high-performing shoe. Now let's talk about some of the bad, okay? So I'd say number one is like this collar up here. Okay, there's just like no durability to this. They had the same problem with the version 1s that like this just like wears out really quick, and it's not really going to affect the performance of the shoe, but it is kind of unsightly. So they need to like figure out how to make this like a little bit more durable up here. So that's a flaw. Number two is you can actually see in here with the video like how I got some mesh going on, like back here. All right, so this mesh that they have as the upper here, it's cool because it lets your feet breathe. You know, you don't want your feet to drown, okay, or like suffocate, right? But the problem is it's not gonna be as durable, all right? It's just not gonna be as durable. And I would say I maybe have 200 miles on these, not a ton, but like I'm already like starting to like get a little hole right there. You know, these will be my church shoes, my holy shoes, okay? So I have fear that there's gonna be like, this upper isn't going to last as long. And looking at some of the reviews that other people had written, you know, for the shoe on the Topo Athletic website, they complained about like the durability of this and how the version 1s were more durable, and I could totally see that. Me specifically, you know, here's a major complaint I got. Like my little like loopy thing here that grabs the laces, it just like came unsewn, just like totally stopped working. And like, this wasn't me like cutting it or ripping it or anything. It just like came unsewn. It's like one day it's like, hey, I just don't want to hold the lace anymore. I'm like, all right, so be it. So I think I'm gonna end up like contacting the shoe company to see if they can maybe like replace these, because that was kind of frustrating. I don't even think I had these for like maybe like 2.5 months, and that happened. So that never happened in any of my other Topo Athletic shoes. So that was kind of a pain. I will say they got some, you know, good like, I think this stuff is called TPU, like this rubber in here. That'll add some durability to it, which is good. And for whatever reason, you know, because of my short, fat feet, which chicks dig, we've already went over that. In my right shoes, I always bust a hole right here. That hasn't happened yet, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about the durability of the upper, but I don't know. I think it's gonna fail in other places besides that one spot right here. Topo, I think, has listened to its customers, and they're changing the way they have their gaiters attached to the shoe. So currently, this shoe uses their proprietary gaiter attachments, meaning that, like, where's my gaiter? Okay. Not my pet gator, you know, that thing bites. I'm not going to show you that. All right, but you can see here, Topo has their own type of gaiter that can go on the shoe that can help keep debris out, but you got to use their gaiter if you want a gaiter to work on this shoe. Whereas on their newer shoes, they have a little Velcro trap here that's more universal to other shoes that can work with other companies. So I imagine on their version 3, if they come out with one, they'll have something similar. I'd say lastly, on the website, if you decide to review the shoe, you'll see a lot of people complained that the shoe was too narrow. Okay, that like the version 1s were nice and roomy in the toe box, allowed those toes displayed. The version 2s got tighter. I actually contacted the company some months back about that, and I said, yo, what's the dealio, homie? And what's up with you guys making thin shoes, homie? And they politely got back to me and were like, sir, I'm like, you can call me homie. They said, sadly, we had like a bad batch, okay? Definitely going on Santa's list, okay? Deuces in the stocking. But they had like a bad batch and they were like thinner, and they said, hey, we've corrected that flaw. It should be the same. And with that being said, the shoe basically fits and feels almost the same, like identical to the version 1s. So if you read that review, that like they're thinner, that was like their bad batch. I think they're all good now. So at the end of the day, would I buy this shoe again? Probably. I think I'm going to check out the Ultra Timps. I want to see how those do. Pretty similar shoe that also has the Vibram Mega Grip, you know, a similar stack height. We'll see what the durability is like. You know, Ultra kind of has a bad rap, right? In that, like, they made awesome shoes and then their durability gradually got a little bit worse. And people are complaining about Topo maybe going down that same path. Let's hope they don't, all right? I hope that they can, you know, maybe fix a few of the durability issues with this shoe. And if they do, this is like an ultimate performer. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I know this was a long video. I appreciate that. Check out some of my other vids if you want to learn about some other shoes or just learn some cool physical therapy tips of how to make your body not hurt and how to use it correctly. All right, thanks, guys. You have a great one.